everybody. This is Cassie Lincoln. I'm with Valenta, and welcome to this edition of the Insider Series, where today we're really focused on talking about PR and digital marketing and how that's going to help your business. And we're going to answer some questions and talk about how you can leverage both to really help your business grow. So again, my name is Cassie Lincoln. I'm a managing partner based out of San Francisco, and today I've got Ron Watt joining me. Welcome, Ron. Do you want to take a moment and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm a 30-year PR veteran with experience servicing Fortune 500 clients, and I'm really happy to be here to answer any questions and to help you guys understand what PR is and how it can help your business.
Thanks so much, Ron. We really appreciate it. I know I work in the digital marketing space with a lot of my clients, and a lot of times what I see is there's maybe a lack of understanding sometimes of the difference between PR and digital marketing, but also I see a lot of need for businesses to actually really work on their PR as well as their digital marketing. So looking forward to kind of going through this event today to learn more about both. So just for everyone, to give you a little context of how we've structured our webinar today, this is going to be a very conversational type of webinar. We're not going to throw a lot of slides at you, so you've got a little bit of a break from staring at PowerPoint. What we're going to do is we have Valerie Shoker on the line with us as well, and Valerie is with the Valenta team as our head of marketing. And so what we've done is we've just compiled a list of frequently asked questions that, between Ron, myself, or Valerie, that we get pretty often about these subjects. So Valerie you'll hear her ask us a question, and then Ron and I will basically just answer, as simple as that. What we'll do then is kind of try to leave some time towards the end so that we can take some live questions from you. We'll let you unmute at that point, or if you prefer chat, you could do that as well, either way. So with all of that said, Valerie, I'll go ahead and have you kick us off with asking the first question to us.
Thanks very much, Cassie. It's a pleasure to be here. So first, we'll start off with a simple one. Can you please both describe what is meant by PR and what is meant by digital marketing?
So PR is public relations, and it's an all-encompassing term that includes media relations, grassroots outreach, anything that uses a third party to influence your story or to carry your marketing message to the market. In general, PR, as I'm going to kind of define it today, is media relations, which is essentially using the media and journalists to tell your story. And it creates a lot of credibility and awareness doing that.
Yeah, I'll add to that from a digital marketing perspective. You can think of digital marketing, it's really kind of a subset of the broad marketing term. But when we're talking about digital marketing, we're really honing in on the specific type of marketing that is leveraging digital and technical type of media, using the internet, using search engines, email, or social media channels like Facebook or LinkedIn. So that's really what we're talking about when we say digital marketing.
Thank you very much. So what is the difference then between digital marketing and PR?
Well, PR is, as I mentioned before, uses journalists and media, whether they be mass media or micromedia being bloggers and influencers. It uses them to help carry a message to the marketplace. And Cassie, you probably have some thoughts on what digital marketing is and how it differs to PR.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, when you're saying about PR, you're using kind of that other conduit to kind of influence your message. I think digital marketing, when a business kind of takes the reins of their own digital marketing, you're really putting out there on your different channels, your messaging, and you're trying to gain, you're trying to get engagement from your customers, from your prospects, from any type of, stakeholders that are really relevant to your business. So it's really about trying to bring information to your audience and shape, how they think of your business.
So another little difference we can look at here. What would you guys say is the difference between social media and media relations?
Okay, that's a good question. I have experienced a lot of clients that have had confusion about what social media is and what the difference is between social media and media relations. They are two totally separate things, despite using media in their names. Social media is obviously leveraging the social networks such as Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, and those are social networks, and that's considered social media. Media relations, on the other hand, uses it's conducting outreach to journalists to help tell your story and bring your message to the marketplace. The great thing about media relations is that there's such a credibility when you get a placement of a story that it can help influence buyers, and then you can leverage that and amplify that on social media.
Very good. And then, so Cassie, what would you say, what's the difference between then social media marketing and digital marketing?
That is a good question, because sometimes I've heard people use this interchangeably, and there is a difference. And I think the first thing to recognize is that social media marketing is part of digital marketing. It's one component of it. It's an important component, certainly, but digital marketing is actually the broader term. When we talk about social media marketing, we're talking about most of those main social media channels that many of us are familiar with, like Facebook or maybe TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn. And when we are doing social media marketing, we're using those channels to actually get our marketing messages out to the audiences that we're targeting.
And then, so what is a press release?
So a press release is the standard tool it's a written piece of communication about a page and a half. And it uses a specific format that journalists are used to. We use what's called the AP, Associated Press style format. And what it is it essentially helps communicate your key messages in a communique that you control, and then that you distribute to the media. And the media then uses that to either publish as is, or they use it as a teaser for a story. So when you pitch the media via telephone or direct message or email, you would send a press release, and they would usually review the press release and understand whether or not it's a story for them to pursue. There's been a lot of speculation whether or not a press release is still important today. I would say that it's about 50-50. It's not nearly as important as it used to be. We recommend that people do their due diligence and research the journalists they're contacting and pitch the story without a press release starting out, and see if there are any bites. But a press release is not as important as it used to be in years past.
That's a good one, because I was curious, is it still important, and what's the relevance nowadays? So that's very good to get that insight there. What would you say is typically included in a press release campaign, and how long does a press release campaign typically last for?
And typically with the PR campaign, there are three main components, and I think that there's some overlap with digital marketing. Number first and foremost is a foundation that you need to have your key messages. Okay, so you need to have your key messages set with what are we call proof points, which are factual information to support your key messages. And then next from there, you need to identify, you need to research and identify the media that you're going to be going after. And then from there, what you do is you consider pitching and actually pitching the story to the media so that they can decide whether or not they want to publish a story. As far as how long PR campaigns last, we've done campaigns that have lasted 4 years. We've done campaigns that have lasted 3 to 6 months. It all depends on what your budget is and what your business objectives are for getting your market to the message or your message to the marketplace.
How much, and I guess it would vary then depending on the length, but how much does a PR campaign typically cost? Oh, if you're doing it yourself or if you're deciding to outsource the service?
Yeah, that's a good question. We get that a lot. I mean, typically, if you're doing it yourself, you have to take into the account that you're going to be dedicating about 10 to 20 hours a week. So you have to assign a cost to yourself, whether or not it's worth your time. And then there's about $500 a month for intelligence services, which basically allows you to pinpoint it's software that allows you to pinpoint which media to go after. I can tell you from experience that we've run public relations campaigns that have been all the way up to $400,000 down to $30,000 per year. It all depends on the volume that you want to get across and the number of stories that you want placed.
I'm going to piggyback on this question a little bit because I have a feeling that some of you may have a similar question related to how much is digital marketing if you do it yourself within your business or if you were to outsource it. And just a couple of comments around that, because there are a lot of businesses that are doing their own digital marketing, and that's fantastic because ultimately your business. So that is definitely a good way to engage with your audience. However, just keep into consideration here that when you do it yourself, you are going to incur some larger cost. Salaries, kind of like what Ron was mentioning for PR, you have to consider, how much time do you need to spend on your digital marketing activities, and what employee resources are you going to have to pull from, say, working another aspect of the business to actually put into your digital marketing. In addition to just your staff or salary costs, you would also have the cost of the various tools like your software. Maybe you have some specialized software for, say, graphics or doing some analysis or building your website. Items like that all have cost. And of course, using ads. You might be considering doing, a Facebook ad or a Google ad. Those are all additional costs that you'll incur. Now, if you decide to outsource, you can get some savings with regard to like the time your staff spends. For example, I'll use our Valenta example here because we've got some digital marketing packages that would provide a business access to expertise in areas like content writing or perhaps graphics, website design. And those are things that you might not have as some core competencies within your business. So to hire someone dedicated to that can be pretty costly. So that's where an outsourcing partner or a staff augmentation partner can really kind of help you get a little less, than help you get that expertise for less money than if you, say, had to add on to your head count or, you're having to take those salary burdens. Not to mention the fact that you kind of get folks that are really up with the latest and greatest going on. Digital marketing, and I'm sure, Ron, you probably have comments on this too from a PR perspective. Things change constantly in the environment, right? In the world we're living in. There are constantly new trends. Things that worked yesterday might not work today in terms of getting in front of your audience. And so that's where you can really get some benefits when you use like a PR team outside of your company or a digital marketing team or both, because they're always going to be encountering all of those latest trends, and they can use that to help guide you and kind of get the most out of what you're trying to do with your business.
Yeah, that's right, Cassie. I would even say too that having an outsourced team like that to support one's marketing initiatives kind of allow, like, they get a little bit of experience from a number of different places, so that they can kind of share that knowledge and help support their clients more broadly than someone who's just been with the company for X amount of years. So
yeah, that's absolutely right. When you get to work with multiple different types of companies, you get that a really a lot of learning, a lot of knowledge that comes into play. So when you use a partner like Valenta, or if you use a PR partner like with Ron's team, you can that's a way for you to leverage that pretty easily, versus trying to keep your own staff up to date on everything, which can be really challenging with all of the other business activities that are happening.
Yeah, that's right. So what would you say is the most important element or elements of a digital marketing strategy?
Oh yeah, this is a good one. I think first and foremost in my mind is understanding your audience. That's going to be really key to how you develop your strategy. It's important because you really need to understand who your ideal customers are. And in order to really reach out to them, you need to know where they're spending their time. That's going to help guide you in, is it make sense to do, say, a Facebook ad versus a LinkedIn ad, just as an example. So when you're researching your ideal customers, you can do this by conducting some market research. And then you would just develop some customer personas around that market research. And that's going to help you, as mentioned, really strategize how best to reach them. And just to kind of put this in perspective, I'll give an example. Let's say that your business you're a custom flooring company. And so you do some market research, and it shows that for one of your customer personas, they love interior design. So that's an audience you want to reach, are folks that own homes that really enjoy great interior design. So thinking through that, you might be led to going over to Pinterest as an example, maybe for running some ads, or you might even want to develop some great Pinterest boards with some beautiful pictures of your floors as a way just to develop a following and engage with your market and build a community around that. To give the other side of this, maybe as part of your market research, you've learned that another persona that's buying from you is maybe it's a homeowner that have had damaged floors or older floors. So they're just looking to replace them right away. This is where you can start thinking about search engine optimization. It's going to be important for you to your business to show up on Google or Bing, wherever your customers are doing their searches, so that they know to reach out to you. So that's an idea. That's a spot where you might say, okay, I really need to maybe run some Google ads around some of my key search terms. So that's why, to me, I think understanding that audience is really the foundation. I know the term marketing research can sound a bit daunting, but there are a lot of ways you can do that. There are services you can actually subscribe to, but there are free ones as well. So you can go out, you can start with like a Google or a search engine to look at your customers, but you also have your existing customers you can learn from too. You can survey them or have some conversations that kind of will help you understand how did your customer find you? What were they really looking for? That sort of thing. So that's a really great starting point to help understand who to reach.
Yeah, I completely agree. And social media would also be a place, you can go for a little bit of that market research. On that, how do social media algorithms affect digital marketing?
Yeah, this is a big one. Let me start with the basics here, just basically what an algorithm is. Algorithms basically determine what content to show a user based on the relevancy versus, say, the time of posting. And let me walk you through an example here. You've probably, when you're using Facebook, you've noticed that one of your friends has a posting, and it's basically the first thing you see when you come onto your news feed is this particular posting. And the reason why, perhaps, maybe that posting has had a lot of interaction. Maybe it has a lot of comments, a lot of likes, maybe even some shares. So what that's telling the algorithm is this is very relevant content. And since you are a friend of this person, the algorithm is showing it to you because, hey, your friend has some really relevant content here. Think about that in contrast a little bit to maybe a posting of another friend that doesn't have maybe as many comments or likes, but maybe they just, posted, say, an hour before, whereas this other one might be several hours old. That's just kind of showing how it's based on a combination of different factors, but relevancy to the user is really very front and foremost. Another example of an algorithm at work, you can think about maybe YouTube as an example. When you log in, you'll often just have a feed of suggested videos. So this is because YouTube has been basically learning your behaviors by, seeing the types of videos that you watch when you log in. And so it starts making suggestions for you. And to be honest, when you think about this at a high level, it all sounds really good, right? You want, as a user, I want to see content that is relevant to me, or like in the example of YouTube, I would enjoy seeing other videos similar to videos that I've already watched and liked. But from a marketing perspective, there's definitely a downside. The downside is the social media platform could determine your marketing post to not be so relevant to your ideal customers. And that would mean that your posting is not really getting in front of them. So from there, when it's not getting in front of your ideal audience, it's going to kind of compound, because then you've got less opportunity for folks to, say, comment or like or share, which further makes it fall further down on the relevancy scale. So it's definitely a double-edged sword there that can work for you or sometimes work against you. And there's a lot of discussion, a lot of kind of art and science, I guess you would say, that go into planning your postings to kind of maximize your algorithmic advantage. It is very difficult to do, since algorithms are very highly individualistic. They constantly change, and to be honest, they're nowhere near perfect. So things that you can do to help really get that advantage are to just continue to cultivate and grow your audience. And you can do that through regular posting and regular content sharing. And you also can do things within your postings to encourage engagement. You might have seen some posts that are that'll say something like, drop a smiley emoji in the comments if you agree. So that gives a fun and easy way for your audience to actually make a comment, but then that's also going to work for you in your algorithms to help it get shown more. Another piece of advice I have on this one is you should also leverage hashtags to get more viewers. Don't leave them off your post. I mean, it can be easy to do. And I'm going to give you an actual example of mine that I did an experiment recently with my Instagram account that I have for my dog, actually. My dog, I use my dog first. She, she's very photographic. So I do that for her, but I have her as an affiliate marketer for Amazon. So I sell some treats that she eats, and I kind of share little videos about it. So as an experiment, what I did was I posted a video of her on Instagram, but I did not use any hashtags at all on my posting. And that video, when I looked at it after it kind of ran its course for the most part, got about 200 views. And the other thing I noted about it was I did not reach an audience that was outside of just the folks that already follow her. Now, what I did was a couple of weeks later, I reposted that very same video, and I did some research. I really just went to Google and just kind of looked at, what are the trending hashtags right now? And I used several of those in my posting. And that video received 10,216 views. So I just wanted to share that as an illustration of, what a difference that can make. So don't leave that on the table. Look for some relevant hashtags. And I would also say that using some other tools out there that can help you hone in on things like the best time of day to post for your audience, or other types of research on, again, where your audience is. Those sorts of things can be a really big help to you. You can also, kind of like we talked about under the outsourcing, is, working with a team that is really fluent in this and can help provide you some strategy behind your posting so that you can really get as much advantage from the algorithm as possible.
Yeah, that's really good, Cassie. And I would say for sure, when you have people that are kind of posting all the time too, it helps. They get an idea of when the target market, like, your target market is online, and when the best time to post for the most eyeballs. It's all about, views. So, and on that note, what is search optimization, and what is SERP, SERP, and why are they both important?
Let's see, maybe I can start on this one, and I'll just kind of give the basics around, what this is. Because when we talk about SEO, we're talking about search engine optimization. And then when we talk about SERP, we're talking about search engine results page. So as a marketer or in PR, depending on how important search engines are to reaching your audience, you're probably going to be pretty concerned with where your business lands on that SERP or the results page, because you really want it right there at the top on the first page. And one way that you can do this is actually through the use of search engine optimization. And what that is when you are actually working actively on your website itself, so that when search engines like Google or Bing kind of review your site, and we call that crawling, like the site, the search engines crawl your site, it's looking at some things on the back end of your site, like use of key terms that folks would search for, and it's using that to influence where you would land on that results page. I've really simplified this just to kind of explain it, but I will tell you that there is a lot of science behind this and a lot of analytics. to make sure that your website is truly optimized. So that's another example of where you can really call in an expert to help you with this, because there's a way of, even tagging your photos and titling things a certain way. All of that matters when it comes to optimizing your web search, optimizing your website, to show up as high as you can on those results pages. I don't know, Ron, what are your thoughts from like a PR perspective on this?
Yeah, so PR is an excellent way for increasing search engine optimization. Just imagine you place an article, I'm just using this as an example, in the Wall Street Journal. If people are searching for your business or your type of business, the Wall Street Journal ad would come up, or not ad, but the placement, the story would come up. And then within that article would be a link to your website. In addition, if you're putting out a press release, you can include keywords, key search engine optimization words that would appear properly on your SERP page that would help increase traffic to your website. So there's a wonderful synergy between PR and digital marketing as far as that's involved.
Very, very good. Hey, so Ron, how can a PR support digital marketing? And how can digital marketing support PR? So we'll go both ways, but Ron, I'll let you start on this one.
Okay, sure. So PR can support digital marketing in that if you look at digital marketing as a paid, there's different ways. I mean, there's the paid ads, and then there's also the earned media through your content generation, organic. The best thing that PR can do to support digital marketing is that it increases awareness, that it can help decrease your ad spend, because if you're creating earned media, which is placements of your stories, and that would definitely help decrease the costs that would be involved from a digital marketing perspective. So for example, if you were to place an article in, let's say, Fast Company, and that would go all over the place, one of the things that digital marketing can do is amplify that through social media and repost the story in all different social networks.
I was just going to wholeheartedly agree with Ron, because I think that PR and digital marketing, this is where they can really work closely together, really to help maximize the impact for both. I mean, if you're thinking about like Ron was mentioning with an article that's placed, you can use the social media and the digital marketing, all the efforts that you're using to grow your audience in digital marketing to get more attention on that article. And likewise, that PR that's out there is really just going to serve to help drive more traffic to your site, build your audience, build all of your different social media channels. So it's definitely, I really like the way you phrased it, Ron. It's definitely a very symbiotic relationship.
What is the number one tip you can give for people about to start their own PR program, Ron?
Yeah, this is a good one because it forces me to, I would say the number one tip is, first off, take a deep breath. The PR is not this, it used to be this very, very specialized service that that not a lot of people can access. But through DIY or through outsourcing, PR is more accessible today than it's ever been. The number one tip that I have is, if someone is going to DIY it, is to research, to really find out what articles journalists are already writing about your topic, and then contact those journalists and say, hey, I've got a story about A, B, and C. And so research is absolutely, absolutely critical. That's my number one tip, is to research the journalist's properly to understand what they're already writing about your topic.
Cassie, what would you say is the number one tip you can give people who are new to digital marketing?
I like Ron's first tip of taking a deep breath. So I'm going to steal that and say, yes, take a deep breath. And then from there, I would say the number one tip is kind of back to what I said earlier. You need to understand your audience. You need to know who you're trying to reach. And that's really going to help drive what you do and how best and where to spend your time. And then my other, I would say another tip that I have related to this and really more in the social media marketing space is be consistent. Post consistently, don't get discouraged. You definitely will have posts that are not going to have a lot of likes or comments. It's okay. It's all you're building your following, you're building your content, you're building your reputation. So just keep after it and it'll happen, it'll come. And I think that's the main thing I can say is that consistency is really key. Also, when you're consistent, you're going to continue learning about your audience. You're going to see what posts they are interacting with, what posts they're not. So anytime you have a post that's sort of in your mind, if you're thinking it failed, it really didn't fail because you're learning from it. So just keep after it, keep consistent, and then just keep optimizing your website. And also don't hesitate to get the help of experts. Sometimes that can be a really big cost and time savings than spending, month after month doing trial and error. It can really help accelerate your return on your digital marketing investment.
Very good. So I think at this point, Cassie, I'd like to open it up for our audience to ask any questions they have. At the moment, I haven't seen any yet. We'll just give it a second or two. And while we're waiting, I will also share my screen and I'll let you speak on this.
Oh, great. Yeah. While we're waiting for some questions to come in, just sharing information on how you can get a hold of Ron or me, you can feel free to reach out to either of us with your PR or digital marketing questions. Feel free to, like you've got some QR codes that'll send an email directly to Ron if you want to ask him some questions. If you want to schedule a meeting with me, you can also use that PR code to get on my calendar. Otherwise, we'd really love to hear from any of you on any of your questions, whether that's right now or afterwards. Well, I would say then I will go ahead and wrap up the session then. First off, I want to thank Ron once again for joining us today, giving us some really great insights from a PR perspective. It was great to have you. And also want to thank Valerie. Thanks for helping guide us through these frequently asked questions that we get. And then a huge thanks to all of you here who joined us today. Hope you learned something, hope you found it insightful, and really would love to hear from you with any questions that you have. We'll email you a link to the recording of the session as well, so you can have that for reference. With that, I guess that will conclude our session today. Thanks again.